So welcome everybody. My name is Nate Hess. I'm a management consultant with Accenture. I've been there for around a year now. Prior to that, I worked for a leading US-based financial services and insurance company. I had several different roles as a senior manager in a couple of different spaces with them. I've also spent a great deal of time in the military. So been in active duty, was in the Navy, was with Special Warfare, and still actually serving with the Army National Guard. Based out of Chicago. As far as academics go, I hold an MBA from Fordham University in New York City, and I did my finance concentration at Columbia while I was doing that. Also have a Master's of Education from University of Illinois in organization development and organizational decision making and decision science. And then went to undergrad at Thomas Edison State University out in New Jersey. The kind of interesting part about sort of the way that I landed at Accenture, I guess, which I would start off with, was I had been working for some time at the insurance carrier that I mentioned, and had risen to a role that I didn't really like being in. And so I really wanted to get back to some of the stuff that I had done before, which is more along the lines of the organizational development and organizational strategy work that I had done before. And so when I kind of, as the chips started stacking up and I became less and less enamored with my current position, I decided to start looking pretty aggressively towards going into consultancy. And so I interviewed with probably every consulting firm that most people have heard of. Interviewed with the big three. Interviewed on the risk and assurance side. A lot of technology firms, a lot of just generalized management consulting firms as well, and interviewed for positions there anywhere from consultant to senior manager. I was offered a couple of spots, and I picked Accenture, and I picked my company for some very specific reasons, which we can get into as this conversation kind of unfolds. But I just wanted to give everyone a little bit more background based on the fact that I had, I'd done I've seen a number of different scenarios as I was looking to make my move into consulting. So happy to field any questions that there might be along those lines.
Thank you so much, Nate, and definitely a very diverse career, a diverse and a rich career. So thank you so much for sharing it. So Nate, let's get started with management consulting. So there are there's a lot of confusion among what exactly is management consulting, because there's technology consulting as well, there's strategy consulting. So according to you, what is management consulting?
So I got the list of questions for this, and that was one that I knew was going to be on there, because it's something that comes up quite a bit when people ask me what I do. I tell them I'm a management consultant, and everybody's like, huh, okay, all right. And nobody really quite seems to know what exactly that consists of. And I guess for me, the way that I would define it is you're working within the organization as it exists currently. And you are there to fix, a management consultant is there to fix problems that the organization has. And oftentimes that can be very simplistic things that maybe they just don't have the expertise to do in-house, or they don't have the run up to be able to establish their talent base to be able to do that. Is going to be too long, so they reach out to somebody else. But management consulting also very much mirrors strategy consulting, because as you're making these changes and trying to make the organization better, more efficient, more profitable, whatever their goals are, it's always more profitable. But as you're making those things, you are inherently also going to be moving and changing the strategy that they take with their next moves as well. So when you look at the major sectors of consulting, where I would say probably the primary ones would be like the risk and assurance side. So tax consulting, accountancy, things such as that. You've got your technology consulting, and they're going to be a lot more on implementation, very, very tactical operations where specific things need to be implemented, analyzation of current systems and things such as that. Strategy consulting is this like wide kind of nebulous concept that I think is very broad, and it sounds kind of sexy and everything, because people think that that's there's more to it than that. But to me, the core management consulting is a piece of each one of those, and I think it's probably the broadest sector within that. Obviously, technology is a huge part of what we do and how we make organizations more effective. Not just at my firm, but at numerous firms. But in addition to that, I think that you get a lot more exposure to the individuals, the people, the culture, and those are elements that have to come into consideration, I believe, much more in management consulting than in anything else, because you're not just building and dropping something in an organization's hands. A lot of times you're going to have after work with making sure that there's acceptance, testing, and all those things really require a strong understanding of the people and the culture of the organization with which you're working. So when I think of management consulting, it's all of those different things. Obviously, very finance, very numbers focused in certain ways. Obviously, very heavy on technology in many ways. Definitely a significant piece of strategy, both defining and understanding it. But you're also being that practitioner where you're seeing your stuff put to work as well.
Thank you so much, Nate, again. And so what's the typical day of a management consultant?
So I would say my typical day usually runs, outside of my own personal routine. After I've, get to my computer, I'm going to go through my correspondence. I'm going to check to make sure that there aren't any fires to put out. Whether I'm doing something internally or whether my priority for that day is something that's client facing, so I'm dealing with a client scenario, I'm going to make sure that I understand my schedule and that I know what I've got going on. I've prepped for any meetings or any presentations or pitches that I'm going to be giving that day. Excuse me. And then most of my time is usually spent bouncing between the various projects that I might be working on and making sure that I'm getting what I need from the analysts that are under me, and they're doing and accomplishing the work that's there. That's probably going to take up, I would say, the first 2 hours of my day is just follow from the day before to make sure that things are progressing as they should. After that, I'm usually going to, start breaking down, my task list, so I know what I have to do, and I've got, my little to-do list and things like that. If I've got some free time in my day, I'm going to block that up with, to make sure that I'm uninterrupted with being able to accomplish whatever deliverables I've got that I need to get out. And then I usually am going to have probably, I would say, 2 to 3 30 to 45 minute discussions over the phone or over Skype regarding projects that are going on, sensing sessions, things such as that, to make sure that, everything is going in the right direction, because it's very easy and very quickly you can start heading down a wrong path and burn time and burn client dollars and waste effort. So that's something that, those sensing sessions and making sure we know what's going on and everything is progressing in the right way are very important. And then something that I do personally is I allocate part of my time as well to help with business development. So I have a couple of managing directors that I am aligned with, that I work with, and I will typically give myself usually about an hour to an hour and a half each day to work on something that's bringing money into the organization. So that could be helping with a deck for a pitch that's going on, for an RFP, a request for proposal, or that could be doing, helping with some research for for a business that we're looking to get into, or some piece that we're trying to sell, or it can also be developing offerings. So one of the things that Accenture specifically, but a lot of organizations do, is they build specific roadmaps and specific products for problems that they know exist within businesses and organizations. And that to me is, that's something I really enjoy doing. I find it very rewarding. I find it very engaging, and I find it very impactful. And that's something that can get someone noticed right away. So being able to contribute to some of those offerings. So we have these kind of boxed, customizable solutions that are there to be able to give out to a customer right away. That's something that is viewed typically very highly, and that level of initiative is something that's important, especially within our organization. So I try to spend some time doing that. And then I would say typically I'm off of my, obviously there's fires to put out and there's things that happen, but I'm typically off of my laptop usually around 5:30, 6 o'clock, when I, am not having a terrible, hectic problem, or I'm not fixing something that had to be fixed. But most days I would say I'm usually around 5:36. I'm done for the day, and I try to keep my work balance as managed as possible.
That is great to hear.